Hi! I'm recording this audio hastily on a Tuesday morning because I just finished rewatching the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, and I have some thoughts. Too many thoughts. But first off, a fair use disclaimer for any and all footage shown in this video, and obviously a spoiler warning ahead. So if you keep watching this video and haven't seen the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, or any Doctor Who for that matter, that's your fault, not mine. So, basic synopsis for the lead up to these specials. This is David Tennant, who played the 10th Doctor, and this is Catherine Tate, who played Donna Noble in the hit sci-fi show Doctor Who back in 2008. Technically in 2006 if you want to go with their first debut, but I digress. I was barely 4 at the time of Series 4 airing, but something with this show and this duo made a switch flip in my brain, and now I'm basically hardwired into liking Doctor Who, and there is no way around it. The BBC presented my young brain with this media, I took it, and I've made it one of the biggest parts of my personality to this day. Anything Doctor Who related I adore, especially when it comes to the 10th Doctor, simply because that was my first introduction to the show. So, fast forward 15 years and bam! David Tennant and Catherine Tate returned to their roles as the 14th Doctor and Donna Noble for the 60th anniversary. And like it or not, their return was needed. The first episode of the specials, The Star Beast, raked in over 5 million viewers when it first aired, and currently sits at a little over 7 million. When compared to Jodie Whittaker's final episode, which still sits at 3.6 million, that gives you about a 4 million person difference in viewership. And this isn't a hate on Jodie's run, she did her best with what she had, but given the circumstances of poor writing and a virus that shall not be named, her best wasn't good enough for audiences. With this in mind, these episodes for the 60th anniversary were very hyped up, but how do they hold since the general hype has cooled down? On the surface of it all, I'd give it a 9 out of 10, but when we get into the story, that's where my issues begin to pop up. Note, these aren't going to be full recaps of each episode. This is just going to be me hitting on the points where I think the episodes failed the most. Starting simple with episode 1, and one of the things I think most people hated about this episode, Rose and Donna just letting go of the meta crisis was weird and a poor excuse to get rid of that plot point. Felt so rushed, as I think most of these specials are. The meta-crisis plot point could have been drawn out into something more, allowing for Rose to have a bit more screen time, which I felt she deserved. She's an interesting character that I wanted to know more about, and it would have been nice to have that build-up into her becoming an eventual companion. The letting it go scene, as I'm gonna call it, reminded me a bit of the end of season 1 of New Who, when Rose Tyler absorbed the time vortex to get back to the Doctor and help him. But unlike the ending of season 1, the end of the Star Beast felt very quick, rushed, and unfulfilling. Wild Blue Yonder, on the other hand, I think was done really well. And I'm probably biased because I tend to love the creepy and scary episodes of Doctor Who more than compared to the others. This episode managed to freak me out a good bit and reminded me a lot of Midnight, which I'm pretty sure it's been compared to a lot already, but for good reason. Midnight is one of the creepiest episodes of Doctor Who, and Wild Blue Yonder manages to capture that fear and dread that Midnight portrays perfectly. The isolation of being on an empty ship at the edge of the universe, the TARDIS leaving and taking the Doctor's only other tool with it, the entities that came from nothing wanting to be something and trying to get rid of Donna and the Doctor by any means possible, all add up into a beautifully terrifying episode that's constantly keeping you on your toes. And though I am not a fan of the Timeless Child story for Doctor Who, I will say it is played really well into this episode. The Doctor's acknowledgement that he doesn't know where he came from and that his existence caused the death of a universe is so refreshing when compared to how everyone just ignored that it happened in the previous series. And the vulnerability of the Doctor in the scene opening up to Donna only for him to realize it's not her after spilling his heart out is an amazing way to devastate and make your audience feel just as isolated as the characters. little things like poor CGI aside, this is definitely my favorite episode out of the bunch, and is one I will come back to a lot in the future. And finally, the giggle. If you can tell by the disappointment in my voice, I'm not a fan really of this episode. It tried to do so much in such a short time that it ultimately hurt the episode overall, at least for me. I really enjoyed Neil Patrick Harris's portrayal as the toy maker. His shop in the opening of the episode is such a beautiful set with so many little details that I adore. And the concept of the toy maker overall is something that's fascinated me since it was first announced last year. And there was so much they could do with this character that they just didn't. So much of the character's potential was automatically wasted once they decided just to rush the story. Again. In my mind, I had a sort of death game scenario expectation, which we did get, but in its most diluted form with the ball game. And things like the toy maker's domain and the puppets were really cool to see and were really well done, but the games are where it falls short for me. My biggest gripe, however, is the ending. When the Doctor gets shot with the laser, I was fully prepared for him to just regenerate into the 15th Doctor played by Ncuti Gatwa. The build-up was perfect. I was sitting there in tears waiting for my favorite Doctor to regenerate once more, and had finally accepted that it was gonna happen. He was gonna go no matter what. But then it stops, and the Doctor is pulled into two beings, creating two separate Doctors. And let me tell you, I was more than disappointed. I think a lot of us who were returning for the 60th anniversary specials were hoping that David Tennant, as the 14th Doctor, would finally get a proper goodbye instead of just saying, "I don't want to go." But that didn't happen, and don't get me wrong, crossovers with two Doctors in the same vicinity is common in the show, especially when you get to anniversaries and Christmas specials. But to create a whole new form of regeneration without any prior build-up throughout the history of the show felt wrong. And I like the concept of bi-generation, but I need it to be expanded upon somehow, because if it's just a one-off thing to be able to keep David Tennant in the role, that's a problem. And the 15th Doctor not having a proper regeneration like Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi felt like his moment in the sun was being cast in the shadow of his predecessor. And allowing the 14th Doctor to have a happy ending and rest for once is a good ending. I enjoy that. But now you have two Doctors and two TARDISes, and that opens way more questions than it answers. Because the Doctor's supposed to be the protector of Earth, and it kind of defeats the purpose if there are two of them roaming around in the same universe. And this is obviously set up for crossovers and spin-offs in the future feature David Tennant, as well as units, since Kate offers Donna a job there, so that's more than likely gonna happen, especially with the whole Hooniverse going on. But the only way I can see this paying off with the 14th Doctor sticking around is if he ends up becoming the curator that was featured in the 50th anniversary, which would be a clever way to bring in cameos from previous Doctors, but I doubt it's gonna happen. If the Doctor had had a proper regeneration this episode, it might have been my number one, but because of these shortcomings that it has, it isn't. It was a very rushed episode, as I said before, and its quick-paced nature ruined it for me. Overall, though, I enjoyed the 60th anniversary a lot, even with its shortcomings. It made me feel like a kid again, and I am very excited to see what Ncuti Gatwa brings to the table in the Christmas special this year. Thank you for listening to me rant about the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials, and please let me know your thoughts on them in the comments below. And one more thing before I let you go, I have social media now. I have like the infinity stones of social media: Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Reddit, Pinterest if that's your thing, and YouTube, of course. You're already here on that. Don't really need to say that much. I keep forgetting to link them in my videos. I was gonna make a link tree, but I realized that's more complicated than I thought. It will get done at some point though. And that is all I have to say for now. This has been a long video. Almost 11 minutes. Dang, thank you for sticking around for this long. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a beautiful rest of your day wherever you are. Stay safe, and bye-bye for now.